Good morning and a warm welcome. You're watching CNN News 18 with me, Griha. Over the next 60 minutes, I'll be bringing you all the top stories. But what we are doing is beginning with some very heartbreaking piece of news. As this news is coming in from the valley, army sources have in fact confirmed to us that 4 Indian army soldiers, including one officer, have died during an encounter with terrorists. We are also given to understand that search operations are currently underway in the area. Helicopters have been used to track the terrorists who are still holed up.
जम्मू कश्मीर के जिला डोडा के कोटी सजान लालद्रमन में एक बार फिर मिलिटेंट और सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस के बीच कल देर रात इनकाउंटर शुरू हुआ था। फिलहाल इस इनकाउंटर में अभी तक कोई भी अपडेट सामने निकलकर नहीं आया है, लेकिन फायरिंग जो है दोनों तरफ से बंद हो चुकी है। और मैं आपको दिखाना चाहूँगा, ये ग्राउंड जीरो की विजुअल से न्यूज़ 18 की टीम इस वक्त ग्राउंड जीरो पर है और ये लालद्रमन का एरिया है और इन्हीं जंगलों में इसके बैक साइड में इनकाउंटर कल रात तकरीबन 8 बजे हुआ था, जब सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस को मिलिटेंटों की छुपने की इंफॉर्मेशन मिली थी और उस एरिया को पूरी तरह से कार्डन किया गया था। फिलहाल मैं आपको बता दूं, यहाँ से आगे मीडिया को इजाज़त नहीं दी जा रही है इस इनकाउंटर को कवर करने के लिए, लेकिन न्यूज़ 18 की टीम बिल्कुल ग्राउंड जीरो पर है। और इस इनकाउंटर की अगर हम बात करेंगे, जो अभी तक सामने आया है, कल देर रात ये इनकाउंटर जारी रहा, लेकिन फिलहाल अभी तक जो इंफॉर्मेशन आई है, अभी तक दोनों तरफ से फायरिंग जो है वो रुकी हुई और इस एरिया को पूरी तरह से जो लालद्रमन गादी कोटी का जो जंगल का एरिया है, यानी फॉरेस्ट का एरिया है, इसे पूरी तरह से गार्डन में लिया गया है। और सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस, एसओजी, जम्मू कश्मीर पुलिस के जवान इन सभी एरियाज में तैनात है ताकि मिलिटेंट यहाँ से निकलने में कामयाब ना हो। न्यूज़ 18 नेटवर्क के लिए सजान लालद्रमन से आतिफ लोन।
मैं इस वक्त लाल दमन इलाके में मौजूद हूं। कल जहां पे ये इनकाउंटर जो है वो सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस और मिलिटेंट्स के बीच में हुआ और अभी मैं जैसे आपने कहा कि डेंस फॉरेस्ट है, जैसे हमने अभी पिछला झुलता इलाका है, मैं अपने विजय से कहूंगा कि वो आपको इलाका दिखाएं कि कितनी ऊंचाई पे हम हैं। यानी कि जो डोडा का इलाका है पीर पंचाल का, उससे भी लगभग 2 घंटे अभी हम ट्रेवल कर चुके हैं और अब हम पहुंचे हैं जो है लाल दमन पहुंचे हैं, जहां पे कल ये हादसा हुआ। और आप देख सकते हैं कि कितना घना जंगल है और इसका फैलाव देखिए आप, कितना ज्यादा इसका फैलाव है। और ये जो पहाड़ी इलाके हैं, जो जिस तरह की टोपोग्राफी और टेरेन हमने पिछले जो है जो टेरर अटैक हुआ था उसमें देखी थी, वैसा ही लगभग जो है यहाँ भी आपको दिखाई देगा। और इसी डेंस फॉरेस्ट का फायदा उठा के ही जो आतंकवादी हैं कल रात से इस इलाके में छुपे हुए हैं। वो कहाँ छिपे हैं, किस जगह छुपे हैं, वो अभी नहीं बताया जा सकता है। वो अभी सिक्योरिटी फोर्सेस उसको लगी हुई है छानने में, उसको एक तलाशी अभियान जो है उनका चलाया हुआ है।
Let me take this across to my colleagues who are joining us on the broadcast early this morning. Ishan Vani is live with us from very close to the spot where this encounter really happened, and also live with us is my colleague Akash Sharma. Ishan, coming to you first, considering the terrorists are still holed up, we are given to understand that the helicopters by the Indian Army have been pressed into service to actually locate the location exactly where these terrorists are. Just take us through what exactly is happening over there without giving away too much of this encounter operation.
Well, it's important also to initially tell our viewers what really transpired. Was yesterday that the security forces received a report about presence of these militants. That's when a party from the nearby Rashtriya Rifles and the SOG, Doda, swung into action. And once they reached the spot, that's when the initial exchange of gunfire took place. But as these militants tried to escape, led by this officer and other Jawans, they tried to chase them down. The initial contact, according to our sources, happened around 8 yesterday. And then there was another gunfire that was drawn around 9. And that's when the injuries took place, in which, for time to actually assess the area. But the outfits have now includes M4 rifle, choices of weapon for the US forces, the thermal scope, which gives you an advantage during night to hit your target. And that seems to be precisely the advancement of technology that's helping the enemy. And plus the terrain, the sort of terrain that exists there. They try to hide and vanish into the forest, which are thick. There's a thick foliage. And this pattern has been similar to those of other incidents that we have seen in south of Pir Panjal, which includes in Rajouri, Poonch, Doda, and other places where they try to first attack and then escape. And this seems to be precisely the case. But yes, a lot of reinforcement has been sent into these areas. The J&K police, CRPF, and the Indian Army are thoroughly searching that forest area, and they believe that these militants are holed up on top of a hill, and that's why the entire area has been cordoned off strictly, and no people are being allowed to go near the encounter spot.
Right. We'll talk more about that, Ishan. Let me actually bring in Akash here. Akash, this is the second major encounter in the Jammu region in the last 1 week. We had seen how there were 5 brave Jawans who had to lose their lives last time around in Kathua. Now again, we are hearing of casualties. What is the army really saying about this kind of an operation where the terrorist clearly has a vantage?
So nothing official as such because as of now the operation is still on, Griha. And when we talk about this particular operation, so as Ishan was pointing out, last night at around 9 p.m. Contact was established, and as of now the sources are indicating that we have lost 4 of our Jawans, and these 4 Jawans have attained Veer Gati. As far as these Jawans are concerned, so we are learning that one was a very young officer who was, leading from the front, and he has succumbed to his injuries and, has attained Veer Gati. Though we are still waiting for an official confirmation on these, deaths. As far as this particular area is concerned, so Ishan was pointing out that how dense forest we have in this particular area, and straight from 2021, we know that how in areas like Rajouri and Poonch, we are seeing, attacks. We are seeing operations where on the specific inputs, Indian Army and of course the Jammu Kashmir police is also acting. But as far as areas like Doda are concerned, so recently we have seen, an increase in the number of attacks, and in fact the presence, as far as the input from Indian Army is concerned, in fact sources within Indian Army are telling us that around 20 to 22 terrorists are basically present in Jammu division. And, when we talk about Jammu, so Jammu used to be, relatively calm and peaceful. But straight from 2021 and 2022, when we saw an ambush on Indian Army truck convoy in Rajouri area, straight from that particular incident, we are seeing an increase in number of attacks. As far as this particular incident is concerned, so yesterday, on the basis of specific input, this operation was launched, and in fact, this is a dense forest area where we are learning that some, the groups, the pseudo groups, in fact, the shadow groups of organizations like Lashkar-e-Mohammed and Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Toiba, I'm so sorry. These groups are very much active in these areas. They are carrying sophisticated weapons like M4 carbine rifle as well. We have seen that how in the past, agencies have established that they are using sophisticated weapons, and they are somewhere using the technology. They are propagating the narrative, and in fact, they are very much active on sites like X and Telegram as well, and they are propagating a narrative along with the kind of attacks that they are carrying out in these areas.
Absolutely. Akash, before I go to Ishan, about this very point, I'd like to understand what is really the Army's word on this, considering these are armor-piercing, bullets and everything that was used the last time around also in Kathua. And these are high-end weapons that are being used by these terrorists, and this is not the first attack. In a week's time, we've lost almost nine lives of our brave hearts. There must be something that needs to be done, because this is becoming a worrying trend here.
Right. So as far as these weapons and the bullets that you are talking about, so there are several sort of theories and conclusions by the investigating officers, but it would be inappropriate to discuss all these theories here in public domain. But definitely, people are waiting for an official update as far as Indian Army is concerned, and as far as these attacks are concerned, because last time around also we have seen that how, politicians, in fact, the opposition parties raised several sort of questions on the kind of approach that we have in the Jammu division specifically, because as you rightly mentioned, Griha, we had a number of attacks in last 1 month, and we have lost several of our Jawans in these attacks.
Absolutely. Also, Ishan, the fact that this was a joint operation by the Jammu and Kashmir police and the army, and you were mentioning about the topography of the area. The last time around, there was a major encounter that ensued for over 48 hours, also had the terrorists having this vantage. And then the other point is that the use of, overground workers also becomes very rampant. Ishan, coming to you in just a bit. We are getting more breaking news at the moment. Now we are learning that the security forces have often found M4 rifle being used by these terrorists in the Jammu region with thermal scopes attached to them. Exactly the point that we were discussing between me and Akash, that there are high-end sophisticated rifles and also bullets that are seen being used by these terrorists, and that is also becoming the worrying aspect. The fact that this is M4 rifles that we are talking about, similar weapons were being used when there was an attack in.
For rifles, we already know that M4 rifle is the choicest of weapon for the US forces, and there were apprehensions with the security forces, even the army at that time. But they said that they'll be keenly observing all of this. There were weapons which were recovered in Kashmir. Particularly when the encounters took place, M4 rifles on the line of control, and those markings and the details were then sent to the investigating agencies to establish the fact that whether they have come from Afghanistan or they were locally made in Pakistan. But this is something which is worrying. They are attaching thermal scopes which are powered by the battery banks that are being taped around this particular weapon for a longer duration use. Even if they don't get charges, they are not able to charge these thermal scopes for a very long time. They are able to charge them through power banks. And many experts have pointed out the fact that all of this trend have been seen in Afghanistan. And the fact that, when a Lieutenant General and now a general and the army chief was a Northern Army commander, he had pointed out on the fact that many of them could also be those who were ex-Pakistan army, who were well trained, who know how to operate in the mountains, and the fact that also there's a change of goalpost for those who were part of fighting the American or the NATO forces in Afghanistan. They had to look for an alternate, and that's when the agencies also pointed out that many of them can find their way into Jammu and Kashmir, and that is the easiest for them to come across because many of them were training with the Taliban in Afghanistan, and then they could have switched sides while coming back to Pakistan because several of them were from Pakistan. And if they are well trained, they know how to fight in the mountains, they know how to go about carrying out attacks and ambushes because they have been doing it in Afghanistan in the past. So that is all the worry. But the forces are trying to ensure that they are able to carry out coordinated operations, an operation where they know that how to deal with the
I'm really
enemy.
sorry to interrupt you. We have our News 8